Welcome back to another mobility session. We are going to mobilize the lower extremities. So we're going to work on our ankles, our knees, and our hips today. So the things you're going to need are a lacrosse ball and a foam roller. Hopefully you have those by now. If not, you know you can go on Amazon and order these things and they will deliver right to your front door. Crazy, right? Okay, so we're going to start with mashing out the bottom of our foot. You're going to start with the lacrosse ball on the ground, right under the ball of your feet, so before the toes meet the arch, and we are going to windshield wipe and swipe 10 times, back and forth. My heel is pressed on the floor, and I'm putting enough body weight through the top of the ball, makes it feel a little uncomfortable, but not enough to make a face. After 10 of those swipes, forward and backwards, we're then gonna bring that ball directly under our body. On the middle of the arch, we are going to put some body weight through the ball. I'm going to plant my heel on the floor, feel a nice stretch through my calf, and then I'm going to let that ball slide through the arch and touch my toe to the floor. And we're going to go back and forth, and we're going to mobilize or free up the tight tissue in the arch of our foot. Again, you're using enough body weight. It feels a little uncomfortable, like it's doing something. I'm already feeling some nice warmth happening in the tissue, which is telling me that it's moving. We're moving today. Good, after 10 of those forward and backward swipes, I'm going to get that ball right underneath my body again, because it got away from me a little bit. If you can see, that ball is right at where the arch meets the heel of my foot. And I'm gonna put some body weight over that, and I'm gonna swipe side to side. 10 windshield wipers. And on some of us, this might be very uncomfortable if we have some kind of inflammation that's happening in that plantar fascial insertion site. Great. Because that was so great, we get to do it again on the other side. Okay, so let's plant that ball where the ball of my toes meets the arch of the foot. I'm feeling a stretch just standing up tall, and I'm going to swipe from the inside, the outside of the front of the foot. Hopefully you're feeling a nice stretch while you're mobilizing the joints. Good. Let's do 3 more here. Last one here. Okay, let's go after the arch of the foot. So I'm going to point the toe, and then I'm going to flex the foot. And that ball likes to get really far out in front of me. I'm going to bring it back right underneath me so I can get some body weight and some pressure over that arch. Good. Eight, 9, and 10. Okay, let's get that ball right under the heel. Put some pressure over that little high heel you just created, and windshield wiper in and out, in and out. 3, 4, 5, breathe. 6. If you're making a grouchy face because of pain, it hurts so much, then you can lighten up on your load and kind of modulate how much pressure you're putting through there. It's supposed to be tolerable. Great, okay. We're now gonna go down to the floor, grab our foam roller, and roll out our calves. So I have a short foam roller here. And in class we've used kettlebells before. If you have a kettlebell, you can use the kettlebell handle for this. But just for the sake of not everybody has a kettlebell, let's just roll out our calf. So remember, you can swipe forward and backwards, but also inside and outside, and that's when I feel it the most, when I cross friction those fibers. So don't get stuck on one spot, just kind of go everywhere. Inside, swipe up and down, point that foot all the way out, swipe up and down. I'm gonna go in and out again. So this is not feeling like a whole lot for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and plant my other foot on top and tack it down, raise my body up a little bit, and now I can feel like I'm making a difference. I'm also gonna point and flex my foot because I felt a little bit of a tight knot in one spot. Good. Swipe in and out. I'm gonna take about 10 more seconds here. Good. Go ahead and take a break. Let's switch sides. So I'm going to just kind of assess the situation and see if I can find anything that's tender without tacking it down first. For some reason, the inside of those calves are always super tender on me. Go ahead, cross friction in and out. Work your way down to the heel cord. Okay, so that felt pretty good to me, so I'm going to go to the next step. Put some more tension and pressure over. Go to the inside. Ooh, see, there it is. Whew. Don't need a whole lot of pressure on that inner side. Now I'm going to point and flex. Oh, that's spicy. Good, keep going. Great, I love it. 10 more seconds. You can see that I don't have any music on today. Hopefully you have some soul music happening at your place in the background. Fill some of the silence. Good, okay. We are gonna go up the chain now and go after our quads and our IT bands. So let's start. I'm gonna start on my right side. And start with this outside of my hip. Top leg comes up and over like a kickstand. I'm going to then swipe that foam roller outside of the knee, all the way up to the outside of the hip. So I'm going to try and do 10 of these swipes. And as usual, it's tender. Okay, I'm on my 8th one. 8, 9, and 10. All right, I'm gonna go over into a plank position. The other leg is gonna be on the floor to help support me. And I'm now gonna mash out the front of my thigh or my quad. So again, I'm using as much body weight as I can tolerate. Good, I'm on my 5th swipe. And I'm actually gonna try and tease out some different corners of this tissue. So I'm gonna bring my belly button a little bit closer to the floor to point down towards the floor so I can get the inside of my quad a little bit more. And then that nice trick where we put the tissue on stretch and then continue to swipe forward and backwards. And since my quads are pretty tender, I'm also gonna cross friction. So I'm gonna take that foot, go in and out on a spot that's pretty tender for me. Move up a little bit, in and out. And don't forget to go all the way from the front of the hip to the front of the knee. Not on the knee, stay above it. Okay, so from here, since we're already on the right side, let's stay on the right side and let's mash out our adductor. So I'm just gonna get into a position where you can see what I'm doing. Kind of in a plank position. Foam roller's on the inside of the thigh, the knee is up towards the chest, and you're just gonna wiggle. Let that foam roller swipe the length of the tissue. And you can also get a rest here and just kind of wiggle around on anything that might be tender. Today on me, I'm a lot more tender towards the insertion site, towards my hip. As I go out to the top of the knee, oh yeah, that's tender too. So I'm gonna stay here and kind of internal, external rotation of the leg. Stay here about 10 more seconds. Good job. Let's do the other side. Start with the IT band. Hopefully everybody that's participating today has a foam roller by now. If not, there are some videos that don't require any equipment at all. So hopefully you have found those by now and you're doing those instead. And then after going and ordering yourself a foam roller. Good, keep swiping. Good, it's close to 10, I think. Let's go up to the front of the thigh. Get yourself in a nice plank position, off to the edge. And go all the way up and all the way back. Good, I'm going to take my belly button and point it down a little further so that I can get the inside of my quad. Of course, I found something that's nice and tender, so I'm now going to bend my knee, put it on stretch, and continue to mash. Release that stiffness. Good, and now I'm going to do that little wiggle inside and outside with my foot. And feel free to hunt around until you find something that's tender and then stay on it for 10 seconds or so and try to release the tissue. Good, 10 more seconds here. Excellent, okay. Inside of the thigh. Plank position. Bring that knee up nice and high. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. In and out. I'll try and stay here about 30 seconds or so. Good, I'm gonna take that foot internal and external rotation. I'm gonna hunt around until I find another tender spot. Out, top of the knee. Okay, that is super tender. I'm going to stay here for a minute. Excellent. Good job. Okay, next we're going to stand on up and do some stretching of our calves. So hopefully you have a wall or something you can put some pressure against in that standing position. We're up at the wall, we're gonna do a typical runner stretch, but we're gonna do a little twist with it. So one foot in front of the other. Your heel should be directly behind your toes. We tend to keep our heel on the inside. That only allows us to stretch one part of your calf and Achilles. What I'd like you to do, be very precise about that back heel being directly behind your toes. From there, you're gonna stand up really tall. You're gonna squeeze your abs, you're gonna squeeze your butt, and you're gonna lunge in towards the wall until you feel a stretch in your calf. From here, I'm gonna have you bend your back knee and feel that stretch change a little bit. That's a different part of the calf muscle. And then you're going to straighten the knee again and then lunge forward. So we're gonna go in and out of this pattern about 10 times. Again, focusing on keeping your heel on the floor, focusing on keeping a tall arch in your foot. So if you have very flat feet, try and think about keeping an arch in your foot. And let's go back and forth in between stretching your gastroc and your soleus muscle. Good, and hopefully each time you bend that back knee, you're driving that knee a little bit closer to the floor. So I'm focusing on driving my heel into the ground as my knee drops down. Good job, this should be getting intense. That muscle is getting pretty warm on me right now, feels great. do a couple more. Excellent. Let's switch sides. Whew. Okay. Take that opposite foot behind you. Is your heel directly behind your toes? Good. Stand up really tall, squeeze your gut and butt. Lunge towards the wall until you feel a nice stretch in your calf. I feel mine. Now I'm going to drive my heel into the floor and bend that back knee, and then straighten and stretch. Super tight right off the bat, those first couple reps. Good. This is my tight ankle, so I definitely don't go as far as the other side. That is not good for my squatting mechanics. Good. I released my lower abs because I got tired and forgetful, so I just squeezed my abs again. Squeezing my butt, trying to stand up tall. Good. Let's do a couple more of these. Really drive that heel into the floor. Drive that knee down. Good job. Whew. Couple more. Excellent job. Okay, you should feel like the back of your Achilles and your calves are nice and warm now. We're gonna make our way back down to the floor. Go ahead and grab our lacrosse ball again, and we're gonna mash out our glutes, okay? Because after that, we're then going to start doing some dynamic movement. So lacrosse ball on the back of your pelvis, back of your hips. Go ahead and tighten down your lower abs so that your spine is nice and stable. And let's start mashing around and releasing some of these glute muscles in your piriformis and 7 deep hip rotators. There's a lot going on back here. Hopefully you're nice and sore from your coach's programming this week. Doing these mobility classes is a great active recovery. That's when we are rebuilding and getting stronger, is during those rest days. Good, so that's pretty tight on me because where am I? Out to the side of the hip. So I'm gonna mash around here. I'm actually gonna straighten that leg. I'm gonna contract my muscles for 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Exhale my breath. Relax my muscles. Try and get rid of that little trigger point that's in there. Okay, spot right next to it. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna contract. 3, 2, 1, relax. Good. Trying to decrease the tone in the muscles is a neurodynamic system that keeps tissue tense and tight, and your breath is a wonderful way to modulate and reduce that tension that sits in that muscle and creates all that tone. Okay, I'm now going to go in a figure 4 position, put some of that tissue on stretch. I'm going to sit on up and go after this right here. If you can tolerate this, feel free to follow this one. Good, I'm going through this tissue and it's not very tender anymore, so I feel like I've made a little bit of a change. Let's go to the other side. I'm gonna start letting down. And when I start, I kind of start pretty high, where the back of my hips meet my low back, and go after that tissue first. And then I start hunting. Out to the side, wiggle around, mash side to side, up and down, in a circle, it doesn't matter, just keep moving. Okay, I'm making my way out to the side. There's my tender points. I'm going to contract and relax on these. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, exhale. Good. Oh, found another one, a different spot, closer to my sacrum. Just get that leg straight. Contract really, really hard. I can feel my muscles pushing that ball away. Exhale my breath. Feel that ball be accepted into that soft tissue now. Great. Keep hunting, keep mashing, keep releasing. Just when I think I'm done, I find something else that's tender. Perfect. I'm going to get into that figure four position. I'm going to swipe up and down. This is going perpendicular to the muscle fibers that is on stretch right now. And then I'm going to go side to side. That's going to run parallel to some of those deep rotators. Perfect. So now that we've mashed out those muscles and got them, have created a little bit more suppleness in them, let's go ahead and stretch. So let's go ahead and do our glute and piriformis stretch series. So you're going to get yourself in your figure four position. Tighten down your lower abs or brace them, and go ahead and pull that opposite knee towards your chest. So our goal with this stretch is to keep our back of our hips, shoulder blades, and head on the floor. Nice, relaxed shoulders. We're not tense. If you find that you're still so tight in your spine and hips that you have to do this stretch like this, then I suggest getting a pillow underneath your head so that you're in a nice neutral position, okay? And if you find yourself that when you pull your knee up towards your chest, your pelvis comes off the floor, I want you to try and fight to lower your pelvis to lay on the ground while you bring your knees towards your chest, okay? So it's not only increasing flexibility in your hips, it's creating some stability in a neutral spine while you're trying to release the stiffness in your hips. Good. From here, we're going to go ahead and drop that bent knee, hold on to the top leg, grab your ankle and your knee and pull that over to your opposite shoulder. You should feel a nice stretch in your piriformis. This is a reverse pigeon, and I like it because our spine stays in neutral. Now again, if you find yourself that you're still so tight in your thoracic spine that you're here, grab a pillow so that you're in a nice neutral position. Good. If you are having a hard time finding this stretch, sometimes I tell people to either pull more on the ankle or pull more on the knee, and that changes the angle on the piriformis until you find it, and you'll know it when you find it. Good. Let's switch sides. Figure four position. I'm checking my spine if it's in a neutral position. I'm going to brace my abs, and I'm going to pull my knees towards my chest. And instead of having to sit here and count, I like to breathe. So I count my breaths. So on the inhale, good. On the exhale, pull a little bit more. We'll do 3 rounds of breathing here. Good, let's switch into that piriformis stretch. Drop that bottom leg. Pull the knee and ankle towards the opposite shoulder. And I think our goal here is to try to get the shin to be perpendicular to your body. So you can see pretty tight in my hips. I am locked down and have a really hard time getting the full extensibility out of this muscle. So each time I breathe in and then breathe out, I'm going to add a little bit more tension at my ankle to try to get that to be perpendicular to my body. Great job. We are now going to go after dorsiflexion in our ankle. So we are going to find ourselves in a deep lunge position. And remember, when we do this, we want our shin to be perpendicular to the floor. We're going to squeeze our gut and butt to protect our spine. And now we're going to drive forward into a deep lunge position. So because I'm going after my ankle, I am going to ignore the laws of perpendicular shin to the floor, okay? I'm now going to pull my foot back a little bit and drive my body weight over my ankle.
So see how we changed this from a typical lunge to now a mobility technique for the ankle? What you should feel is some maybe pressure in front of the ankle, not pain, but pressure, and a big stretch through your calf. I'm gonna come out of that and give it a little bit of a rest. I'm gonna squeeze my gut and my butt. So guess what happens at the same time? I'm feeling a nice big hip flexion stretch on the opposite side. You can see my elbow is driving my knee down towards the floor, and I'm feeling intense stretch in my ankle. Good, I'm gonna come out of it, give it a break. Got really warm really fast. Good, I'm squeezing my butt on this side so my hip has a nice stretch as well, and I'm driving my body weight down into the floor through my knee. Excellent. That was only 3 reps on this side. Let's try and go for 8. Good, and I'm hanging out in that position only long enough that I can tolerate because it's getting so intense so fast. All right here. Good. The other thing I'm not allowing to happen, I'm not allowing my knee to drive in towards my inner arch. I'm keeping that arch tall, and every time I drive my knee forward, I'm lining it up with my second and third toe. That might change things for you, because we tend to fall out and around our point of resistance, and that's compensating, right? And that's how we end up getting injury later on. So perfect execution of these here and now will help you later on. Okay, let's switch sides. So again, here's my typical lunge position, right? When I get to the bottom of my lunge, I'm vertical. We're ignoring those laws. We're bringing our foot a little bit closer to the body. Squeeze my gut and my butt, and I'm gonna drive that knee over second and third toe. I'm feeling a stretch in the opposite hip. Coming out of it because it's pretty intense. Really thinking about driving my heel down into the floor. Good, keep going. Backing out of it, checking my alignment, checking my tense glutes, abs. Driving my elbow down into my knee. Woo, creating lots of change in here, back of that calf. Good. Take a break when you need to, then drive forward. Really just think about letting that muscle and tissue release and relax. Use your breath to help you find that. Good, we're gonna do a couple more here. Okay, driving your heel down, pushing your body weight through your knee, keeping your glutes tight, and breathe. Now let's go after those adductors that we also had released with the foam roller, and let's do it with a tactical frog. So you guys remember this one. We're gonna get on the hands and knees. You're going to kickstand out one leg, toes pointed towards the ceiling. You're gonna make sure you have a tabletop, straight, neutral spine. You're not too flexed and you're not hanging out in extension, but somewhere right in between. You're now gonna brace your abs as tight as you can, like somebody's gonna come punch you. And you're slowly gonna rock your hips back towards that foot, almost like a child's pose, but you've got this leg out here so that you're feeling stretch on your inner thigh. Go ahead and rock out of that and then rock back into it. Remember, our goal is to keep a neutral spine throughout the whole time. And through each of these repetitions, you might be able to go a little bit further. And we're breathing, we're not holding our breath. And eventually we'll make our way to where our hips touch our heel. I'm not quite there yet, I'm pretty tight today. Good, let's do 3 more here. Remember, you can always pause the tape and go get a towel or a pillow for that bottom knee. Good. Let this be our last one. Excellent job. I really had to fight to keep my spine from curling. Let's do the other side. Good, toe up towards the ceiling. Find your neutral spine. And I'll tell you, as soon as I went from here to here, I instantly felt a stretch. So my rocking back and forth is going to be very, very small in the beginning until I can get that tissue to stretch a little bit better. Great job. Keep that toe pointed up towards the ceiling if you can. Oh, that was a nice release. I was just able to go through it. Great. Probably because I was breathing. 2 seconds before that, I was holding my breath. Okay, let's do 2 more here. Really, really push those hips up towards the ceiling. And this will be our last one here. That's it for today, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me for another mobility session. Hopefully your ankles, knees, and hips are feeling a little bit freer, not so much tension, not so tight through all your workouts that you've done this week. I really love doing these classes for you, and stay tuned for more that come out every week. Okay, thanks everyone. Have a great day.